I didn't actually experience this myself. My mom told me the story. She said when she had given birth to me, and then my brother came to the hospital for the first time. I was in like a cot, and then the nurse came to carry me, and he was like, "Oh no, don't touch my sister, don't take her away, leave my sister." And that was Obi and I's relationship. I always felt sheltered, covered, protected because he was around. He was always really supportive. I knew that there was somebody I could always, call, and the person would just be, right there how I want them to be there.
Grief is a universal experience. So many of us deal with it, but because it is such a difficult experience, because it is so heavy, we don't speak about it enough, and a lot of people that are grieving feel alone. So our episode today is all about losing a sibling and living with the accompanying grief. Our hope is that this episode today really just helps you, makes you feel seen, lets you know that you're not alone in your grief and that there are people who understand what you're going through. So today I am joined by Stephanie, a gorgeous, gorgeous girl.
Thank you.
Please introduce yourself.
Okay, so my name is Stephanie. I'm originally from Nigeria, so I grew up in Nigeria, but right now I live in London, and I have for the past 3 years now.
Lovely to have you here, Stephanie. I am Fisayo, founder and CEO of Kai Collective, a London-based women's wear brand intentionally crafted to make women feel their most confident. How are you today, Stephanie?
Good, thank you.
Yeah?
A bit nervous, but yeah.
No, it's going to be just fine. And I am here the whole time if you need me. So let's start with a quick fire round of Only Feelings Are Real cards. So what we're going to do is just pick a card each and answer the question. So do you want to go first?
Describe a day this year that you vividly remember. Okay. I remember my parents and I visited Cairo like a couple of months ago.
Egypt?
Yeah, Egypt.
Nice.
Yeah. And then we went to the pyramids of Giza. It was nice, interesting history, but most especially just spending time with like my parents and just like making them go out of their comfort zone to do things that they wouldn't usually do. So yeah, that was nice.
That's lovely. Thank you for sharing. Okay, my turn. What is a joy that you always carry with you? That is a good one. What is a joy that I always carry with me? Probably growing up in Nigeria and just having that really rich cultural heritage and background. I loved my upbringing in Lagos. I had such a great time. And I just have the best memories from growing up at home in a place where everyone looked like me. So let's start from your childhood. What was your childhood like? Did you enjoy it?
I feel like I had a pretty typical Nigerian childhood. It was nice, not too adventurous. Like, I never really learned how to swim. I only learned how to swim like 2 years ago, and I'm almost 27, by the way. I also never learned how to ride a bike, but yeah, that one is a story for another day. But I enjoyed my childhood. I think I was pretty quiet and reserved. I think I saw a tweet where they say you're quiet and reserved and they give you best behaved. And that was actually me when I was in primary school. They said I was best behaved. But meanwhile, I was just really introverted. I spent a lot of my childhood growing up as like in a Catholic family. So Sundays were always go to mass. I was like a huge part of the church. I used to do like ushering and the choir and most of those things, not because I was necessarily forced, because I also kind of enjoyed it as well. So yeah, that's pretty much my childhood from my perspective anyways.
So tell us about your brother. What was his name?
Okay, so his name was Obiechina. that's the full name, although he never wants anybody to know that. But yeah, he was 25 years old when he passed away, so I'm guessing had his whole life ahead of him. Yeah, my brother, I'll just go into a bit of our relationship. So my brother and I were pretty close in age and just in terms of our relationship as well. There was pretty much nothing I couldn't say to him or, he couldn't say to me. So we had we were a pretty close-knit family. So there's three of us, my older brother and then my younger sister. So we were a pretty close-knit family, I would say. Yeah.
What did you love most about Obi?
Well, I don't think it's possible to pick just one thing. I don't know if it's possible to love the entire essence of a person, who they are. Obi was the nice guy. I know everybody would say their brother is a nice guy, but he was genuinely a nice guy. He was the kind of guy that you would call to pick you up at 6 a.m. at the airport and he would be there. The kind of guy that will borrow money from somebody else to borrow money to another person. He was funny, he was loud, he was the complete opposite of me, really extroverted. A few of my friends today I stole from my brother. So, yeah, that's... And do you ask what did I miss?
What do you miss most?
I feel like just the everyday relationships, I miss because we all live together, I miss sometimes hearing his footsteps because he was a big guy. So when he used to walk, his footsteps, used to make a lot of noise and I would know that he was fast approaching, or if he was entering the kitchen, he used to come to my room in the mornings, all those things that brothers do, just say nothing but just disturb. So I think, that's what I miss the most, just the day-to-day engagements and relationships, I guess, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a specific memory or story about Obi that you hold dear to your heart?
Okay. If I can do two, I'll do two.
You definitely can.
The first one, I didn't actually experience this myself. My mom told me the story. She said when she had given birth to me and then my brother came to the hospital for the first time, I was in a cot and then the nurse came to carry me and he was like, oh no, don't touch my sister, don't take her away, leave my sister. And that was Obi and I's relationship. I always felt sheltered, covered, protected because he was around. He was always really supportive. I knew that there was somebody I could always, call and the person would just be, right there, how I want them to be there, And another memory is my brother went to Loyola Jesus College. So
what?
Yeah.
That's what I went.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that you went to Loyola.
Yeah.
But he graduated in 2012.
Okay, I can't remember. I think I left in 2010.
Okay, so maybe, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So he went to Loyola Jesus College, and I always vividly remember visiting days. So, I think they would have, I don't know if it was one per month or one every 2 months. Yeah. And then we would just go, we would attend mass first, and after that we would go to the field where everybody sits under trees. And I remember everybody always knew that, maybe if your parents couldn't make visiting day, Obi's mom was always there to, provide the food, So Obi was a crowd puller.
Yeah. Can you tell us about the days immediately following his passing? Do you remember them?
Yes, I do. I say this smiling. Sometimes when I ask my friends what I was like, they're like, oh, okay, you were like a zombie. And I was like, okay, fair enough. I think with me, from the moments that I got the news, my brain just kicked into, okay, you need to go. You need to sort this out. You need to sort that out. So I wasn't really ever in the grieving mood, I would say. I just wanted to really occupy my mind with other things, prepping for other things, making sure everything was good. I think probably when I did find out, when I did get the news, I obviously had to decide, okay, am I going to be this strong girl, or am I going to be the crybaby, And I feel like I had to make that decision very quickly. So I obviously chose to just, put everything into making sure my parents were okay, making sure my, sibling was okay, making sure everything was going according to plan.
Yeah. Are there things that you would never have done before his passing that now you would do or have done?
Yeah, this right now, I'm guessing, yes. I do feel like I'm a lot more confident. So because my brother was around, I always felt really sheltered. But obviously when he passed away, it felt like, okay, you have to sit up, and shit just got real, if I can say that, So it really, made me realize that I have to show up for myself in specific ways or in particular ways, if that makes any sense, yeah.
Yeah. Who is one person that you would say has really been there for you through this experience, and what is special about how they were there for you?
Okay, so I don't think I can say just one because I have, I think you need like your community. Your community is really everything, and throughout, so my brother has been gone for 3 years now. So throughout these 3 years, there's just, I've received so much support from my friends, I've even met new people. So I'll just give like examples of things that, my friends did for me from the beginning up until right now. So I vividly remember during like the funeral period.
It's okay. Take your time.
I remember during, the days, everybody had questions. Everybody's like, obviously because they can't ask my parents the questions, everybody kind of turned to me. What happened? Where were you? What were you doing? What's going on? All the questions. I remember I had so many phone calls from people that I didn't know, people I hadn't spoken to in a long time. And I vividly remember, sometimes, how they say Nigerian aunties. Not that they mean it in like a bad way, but sometimes tend to be a bit. So I remember somebody just pulling me to the side and asking me, oh, what happened? Where were you? You should have. And immediately she said, you should have. My friend Ivarian just kind of like stepped in front of me and just like, stared her down. And obviously I wasn't able to do those kind of things because like I said, I wasn't always like a confident or like assertive person. So, that sort of physical shelter, you need different friends for different things. So that kind of like physical shelter was like something like obviously I would never just forget because I was like, oh my God, thank you,
You're a real one, girl.
Something so small, but still so significant. And also my friend Leila. So Leila lives in Abuja, and I met Leila in law school. She was actually Obi's friend, but I sort of like inherited her, after. And just for the past 3 years, Leila has just been, a rock for not only myself, but my family as well. I remember in 2021, when my brother just passed, I moved to England for my master's. And I remember Leila would go to my house every week to see my parents. And I remember, sometimes I would FaceTime them all the time. And then I would just like hear her voice in the background and I'd be like, oh my God, somebody that was there to just sort of like, help them out with anything that they needed. So, and up until today, she's still doing the same thing. I remember my mom calling me on the public holiday, and I was like, oh, Leila said, let's go and visit Obi. And then she took my mom, she drove her. So yeah, something like that, her, just providing support in, even though I haven't even known her for, such a long time, she has just been amazing. Or even the little things. I remember my brother's friend, Charles, he moved to Canada, but like, he used to go visit my parents on Sundays. He would never come empty-handed. He would come with like bread or watermelon, even though like, he would, go up to their room, spend time with them, talk to them, My friends like, Tomiwa just doesn't look out for me, she looks out for my little sister as well. When is that essay going to be ready, you know? So things that I would typically have to worry about just because I'm usually the one that helps everybody with everything. So just my friends just taking over those responsibilities for me, even without me having to ask, you know, it was, I don't think I can ever say thank you enough, you know. I think I'm very lucky and blessed to, you know, have experienced such friendships because, you know, I think it's obviously, they say something like a brother is born in times of adversity, and, you know, my friends really showed up. I remember a day before the burial, my auntie came into my room. She was like, "Oh, I'm looking for a pillow," and she was like, "Oh, the room was like a girls' hostel. That they were just, you know, people everywhere, you know, on the floor. Everybody was just trying to be there, you know. Everybody was trying to do something." I had friends like Ghanaians that, you know, came all the way from Lagos. Tammy that came all the way from Lagos, you know, even without me speaking to them, because obviously a lot of people were calling me, and I didn't feel the need to, you know. So they just, you know, left up, and they have lives, you know, just up and left everything and just, you know, came there, you know. And then this has continued throughout the years. So, you know, sometimes every December or every November, you know, they fly all the way to Abuja just to, not for us to do anything in particular, just to, you know, spend some time, because usually the holidays tend to be like a bit difficult, you know. But yeah, so I'm guessing all of my friends, you know, have just been like really, really great, I would say.
I think it speaks to your character that you had people in your life who would show up for you in this way. So when someone passes away and, like, you know, we go and visit their family, sometimes it's just like, what should I say? I don't want to say the wrong thing. And this causes some people to stay away, which, from speaking to you before, I know you think is quite lazy, right? Yeah. Tell us about that.
So when people say, and I'm speaking just from my personal experience, obviously, when people say they don't know what to say or what to do, I can't lie, I completely understand that, but I also feel like it comes from a place of not wanting to do the work, wanting to obviously protect yourself, which is fair enough. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because at the end of the day, we all have to look out for ourselves. But I don't think it's necessarily like an excuse. I'll use the example of, you know, my friends. I don't think any of them have ever been in that position before, where they had someone so close to them lose somebody so close to them. I think if somebody is your really good friend, or if you have like a genuine connection with somebody and then you really love them, you sort of find a way, you know. Or you might not always say the right things, but the person will always sort of receive it positively, knowing that, okay, if you're my friend, this is not coming from like a negative place. You probably just don't have, you know, the words. And then in all honesty, nobody really does have the words, but I think it's a bit more strange to sort of ignore it or sort of try to like dance around it, you know. It's better to just be, because trust me, like, it's, you might think you're like reminding me or something, but it's on my mind 24/7. There's no time that, like, you know, I'm not thinking about it. There's no time that the events are not like replaying in my head. So you mentioning it is not going to sort of send me into a spiral or anything like that. It's better for you to ask about him, you know, how you feeling, you know, or if you remember a memory, say, I remember when, you know, just, yeah, not be so, it's not a taboo to speak about it, I would say, just to really get comfortable.
Okay. So if we were to say, so this is just to help people in a very practical way, right? Yeah. When people were coming to see you immediately after it happened, what are the things that people should say? Because I've heard that people should not say, or things like, oh, it was meant to be, or that kind of thing. How do you feel?
Well, yes, because I think when you're in that position, you're not really thinking about it logically, or I don't know how to put it. I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, I feel like it's something that, God forbid, I wouldn't want anybody else to sort of experience this, but it's something that you have to experience to really, you know, understand. I guess I really appreciated people just doing things, you know. Bring a bottle, bring a carton of water, you know, buy me. I remember I really liked snails then, and then like for, you know, 1 month or like 2 months, I was getting constant, you know, snails at my house, you know, questions like, how are you feeling? Questions like, what's on your to-do list? What can I help you with? You know, so just taking practical steps, I would say, not just asking, but, you know, actually doing. Have you eaten? You know, have you showered? You know,
Acts of service.
Yeah, acts of service. You know, just the basic things that I would do on a normal day are the things that you should ask me, because I felt like from the moment I heard the news, it was sort of like back to square one. It was like learning how to walk again, sort of, because like I said, my brother was a huge part of my life. He has always been attached, you know, to me. He was born before me, so like before me there was him. So I've not known my life without him, and I never thought that I would know my life without him being present. So it was just like relearning a lot of things. So yeah, people, and ask how your parents. I mean, depending on obviously how your parents, you know, how's your sister, you know, those sorts of questions.
Yeah. So how are you? How are you feeling? And if, you know, you say like, you answer like, I'm not good, what kinds of things can the person say?
To be honest, I don't think there's really a lot of words that anybody can really say to you to comfort you in that time. But I'm guessing things like, I'm here for you, you know, what do you need, you know, what do you want me to do for you today? Just helping me function, not so much trying to access my feelings or how I'm feeling, but just how I'm sort of functioning, I guess. Yes. In those initial, in those initial, like just how like I'm functioning, you know. What do you have to do today? You know, what are you doing today? You know, can I come over? And like, you know, just a lot of quality time and a lot of just being physically present really helps, I would say. Yeah.
Is it okay to say sorry? Like, is that how was hearing sorry for your loss?
Yeah, I think it's fine to say that. Yeah, in my experience, yeah, it's fine to say sorry for your loss, especially sometimes when I feel like maybe you aren't so close to the person, but like obviously you know them, and then you know that, you know. I think that's perfectly okay.
Okay, and for people who, you know, would call, you didn't want to pick up your phone, which is absolutely fine. Does it mean something for you for them to keep calling and keep texting, for you to read whenever you can? Is that the better approach, or to leave it for a while and then come back later? What's the better approach there?
Okay, so I had friends that did both, and I think the first one kind of worked better. So keep calling, keep texting, you know. Obviously, like I really appreciated like reading a message, and because as much as I was probably not responding, I was probably on my phone a lot, you know. I needed some, you know, stimulation, you know, all of that. So just saying that would provide like a bit of comfort. Okay, this person cares. And then if you're not getting any, you know, responses, to not take it as like something against you, or to take it as this person doesn't feel like I'm that special enough for me. Because I feel like some people actually do feel like that.
That's ridiculous.
You know? Yeah.
But what are the things that people should not say to someone who is grieving?
I know how you're feeling. That's one of them, because really and truly, nobody really knows how, you know, a person that's grieving is feeling. And I'll say this as, even if I was speaking to someone else that's was in the same position as me and I lost their brother as well, I would never assume that I know, you know, really and truly what's going on with them, you know. I can maybe talk about my own experience, but I can never say for sure this is how they're dealing with it because A, B, C, D, because it's not really like one size fits all, if that makes any sense. It's different for different people. It takes different shapes, different forms. Also, I think just obviously as a Nigerian, you know, we grow up really religious, you know, so people tend to go the religious route. God knows best. If God didn't mean for it to happen, it wouldn't have happened. And not to say that I doubt that those things are true, or but that's not really what I want to hear at that point in time. Maybe much later, and some people might never be ready to hear that, which is also fair enough. But I think just at the time, it's just like a lot to kind of, sort of process, because you're already processing so much. And then to add that into the mix is just, a bit complicated. Another thing I would say is, life goes on, or,
How's be strong?
Yes. It's only a matter of time. And in my case, I got a lot of be strong. I got a lot of you should hurry up and get married so that, you can make your parents happy with a grandchild. I got a lot of all of those, comments as well. I mean, I think I took them pretty well, but I would say that those comments weren't really very helpful.
How have your relationships with other family members or friends been impacted by your brother's passing? It sounds like friends have really shown up for you.
Strengthening lots of relationships, yes, and giving me new ones as well, because there are people that, like we just discussed, weren't so close to me, but they really showed up in terms of like they made such an effort to communicate with me, even though they were in different cities or different parts around the world. I remember, people on Instagram just like reaching out to me, even though like I didn't know them personally, or I knew somebody that just knew them, just receiving, the message from that person really made me feel like, oh, okay, warm, I guess. So it has strengthened a few friendships, created new ones as well, and also kind of sent some to the bin. Also, and not even, it's not personal or anything, it just is what it is. Because, like we've previously said, I felt like some people just felt a bit awkward sort of relating with me. And I'm sorry, it's not my fault my brother died, so like I'm the one that's like going through it, but you want to be the one that stays far away, or you want to be the one that kind of like distances yourself from me and expect me to sort of like reach out. So some friendships as well have definitely not ended on a negative note, but yeah, there's just some friendships that I just don't decide to engage anymore. So yeah.
What about romantic relationships?
Romantic relationships. I feel like losing my brother has given me some level of independence. So I feel like I'm not necessarily afraid to, if I was in a romantic relationship, I wouldn't be afraid to like lose somebody, or I wouldn't be afraid to, because obviously what other like heartbreak can be worse than this? Like you can't do anything to me now, So it's made me really particular with like my choices, I'm guessing. And I also feel like it has made me understand what I truly need and I truly want in a partner. Sort of cleared my thoughts a bit and just, not that I have a list, but I have a list, but like just the qualities I would want, because obviously going through something so tragic, I mean, my friends are there as well, but having somebody that you can lean on, in like a romantic way is obviously like a different experience as well. So I feel like that's something I always have at the back of my mind if, and when I'm ready to choose a partner, that, okay, this person needs to have certain qualities, empathy, like, are you kind, are you going to, so you can imagine when you meet somebody for the first time and they go, oh, how many siblings do you have? And then you have to like tell them that, okay, I had, because sometimes I never like brush over it. I never say I just have one. If somebody asks me the question, I have to say I had, a brother and stuff. And sometimes I gauge their reaction to it. And some people are like, really, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And like, but some people are like, just like a bit. And then when like they act sort of normal, I really appreciate it. I'm okay, yeah, let's go, +1, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think in terms of romantic relationships, all in all, it has just improved my standards. Yeah, I would say that it's improved my standards.
I think that's so amazing, and I'm so happy for you, because I think that loss can make us really, really vulnerable emotionally, where we allow other, like, people who don't deserve us just because we're trying to fill a void. Or you go the other way and you're like, the worst has happened, so now I'm only allowing certain people into my space. Your standards are activated and you're like, militant about who you allow in your life. And I think that that's such a great place to be, and I think that you make the best decisions and find the best partners from that, standpoint. So you said you grew up in the Catholic Church?
Yeah.
Are you still in the Catholic Church?
Yes, I am.
What impact has religion had on your life, and particularly your grief?
Okay, so religion, sort of a tricky one for me. I feel like I was probably angry at God for like a long time, I was like, oh my God, why, what have I done, So I've always had a relationship with God. Like in my house, we go to 6 a.m. mass every Sunday, so it's like a thing. But even when I'm by myself or not with my parents, I tend to go as well, because I'm building my own personal relationship, with God. So I think grief has strengthened my relationship with God, and just on a personal note, and just taking things at my own pace. So I don't put any pressure on myself.
Yeah. Is there anything you've learned about yourself through this that you had no idea about before January 2021?
Okay, so I think I didn't know I could probably be as strong as I am. I didn't know how far I could stretch myself, the things that I was capable of doing, the decisions I was capable of making. I think it has also made me a bit more confident and assertive. Like I said, having, nobody to protect me, is kind of like I have to sort of do these things myself. So I didn't realize that obviously I could be more than one thing. I didn't have to be just, one thing. I didn't have to be quiet all the time, or I didn't have to be, I don't want to use the word humble all the time, but I could be a couple of things. I could be confident, I could be funny, I could be, so it's really allowed me to sort of explore myself more, genuinely get to know who I am, the things I like, what really matters to me, my values. So I guess I'm still sort of learning new things about myself, Yeah.
What are some unexpected ways that grief manifests itself in your everyday life?
Okay, so for me, there's a lot of brain fog. So like, I feel like I have, number one, a shorter attention span. I can't do two things at the same time. I tend to forget things really easily, especially obviously during the first few years, especially the first year. I tend to forget things a lot. I tend to procrastinate a lot. I would say that's like my biggest issue, like trying to climb myself, pull myself out of that, space. So something that could take me literally 30 minutes, I could be stuck on for 2 weeks. And, there's no explanation for it. And then it's a bit weird for me, because prior to my brother passing away, I always used to be very active, very into work, and very efficient, I would say. But now, not necessarily so much. At some point, I used to get I don't know whether to call it a panic attack, or there would be times that I would just be maybe on the train going somewhere, and I see something or like a thought just comes into my head, and like before you know it, I'm like, struggling to like breathe. And then, which is why I feel like yoga really helped, because it really allowed me to realize that, oh, okay, you can just take control of your own breathing and just sort of, go at your own pace. Another thing is seeing some everyday things that obviously don't have any impact on anybody else, but have an impact on you. So, for example, watching like a mother-son dance on Instagram at a wedding, that sort of like, in a way, gets to me sometimes. And when it's like that, you see, I'll be quiet for like 2 days, so I'll be out of it for like 2 days. So yeah, basically just those few things, I guess, yeah.
Have you been able to experience the emotion of happiness?
Yes, and that's like a tricky one, I would say, because with grief, I feel like there's a sadness that I feel for myself, and obviously the sadness that I feel for my brother, in terms of him not being around to sort of experience certain things with me. Like I said, we grew up, really close. We always used to kind of experience like our milestones really close to each other, more recently, just before, like a year or two before he passed away, we went to law school together. So, our lives were, pretty like intertwined. Yeah, so big moments like, graduations, birthdays, they're a bit hard, but you have to sort of think at the back of your mind that whoever you've lost would want you to experience that happiness. And you're not doing them a disservice by sort of feeling happy, I guess, I would say. I mean, easier said than done, but yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything you wish people understood better about what you're going through?
I think the fact that it's a journey. It's a journey, and it looks different for, each person. I think to always just show up in any way that you can, at least. I think it's something that people should always sort of have at the back of their minds. And another thing I would say is to not assume that a person who is grieving is like searching for pity, or because, that's one thing. I don't want, people to think that, oh, I want people to tell me sorry. Not necessarily. It's just my life. This is just like, who I am. I'm somebody who has lost somebody that's so dear to me, It has to come up. I have to talk about it. I have to post about it on Instagram. I have to, speak about it on Twitter, or like, just the way we all talk about things that we experience, on our social media, and just not to assume that anybody is kind of seeking pity. They just want to express themselves, and yeah.
You mentioned to us an amazing initiative that you started in honor of your brother. Can you tell us more about this?
Okay, yes. So back in 2021, when I was in Overdrive, I started a law firm. It's called Law et al. We ran a scholarship program in 2021, so we paid full tuition fees for 2 students, and then we sponsored books for the other 3. And at the end of the year, the 2 students that we sponsored actually graduated with a first class from the Nigerian Law School, and one of the students that we sponsored for books also graduated with a first class. So we had 3 first class students from the Nigerian Law School. It hasn't been happening because I was just not in the right space of mind to sort of continue. But this year, yes, it's coming back, and we hope to sponsor 2 more students to the Nigerian Law School this year.
That's amazing. So good. And lastly, describe the future that you hope for. What are you excited about?
Okay. The future that I hope for, I think, is one where people are really tolerant of each other. People are more accepting of each other, and knowing that, okay, we're all different, we all love different things, we all behave in different ways, but we can all coexist. I feel like the future I'm hoping for is one where it's less judgy and more oh, okay, you never know what that person might be going through. So just like give them some sort of grace. Yeah, so the future I hope for is really accommodating of everybody and everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing with
You're
us,
welcome.
Stephanie. You are so strong. So strong.